We still have George all the way from Bucharest. He's already done his voting and he's taken us through the process. Perhaps, George, very quickly, let's start looking at the states to watch. And it is quite interesting. I find it really hard to understand why New Hampshire that has just 4 is so important and very key to this whole election. Tell us why that is.
Well, basically, there's a total of what they call 538 electoral votes. And each state, basically based on the population of the state, is allotted a certain number. So California has over 50. Texas has a large number. New York, Illinois, the most populous states have big numbers. And then the smaller states have, 3 or 4. The minimum a state can have is 3. So in the case of New Hampshire, you have only 4. But if the election is very closely fought, and a candidate is struggling to get to that magic number of 270, then those 4 can come and play a very major role. So if there's a split between big states like Pennsylvania and Florida and Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin, which have more electoral votes, and each candidate has 260 or so, then an extra 4 from New Hampshire could be what puts the candidate over that magic number and gets him to he or she to 270 to be the winner. So it's just a game of mathematics in terms of who has the most votes in the various states and can get to the magic number of 270.
And again, for the blue states, I think predominantly that's the state for the Democrats, right?
Yes, when we say blue states, those are states that are expected to go to the Democrats. So in that case, you have California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey. The states, the coastal states tend to be what we call the blue states, and then the red states tend to be, those are what we call the Republicans. The color is red, so we call those the red states. Those tend to be in the Rocky Mountains in the western part of the United States, and in the South. Those usually tend to be a lock for the Republicans. Now, a lot of those states have less electoral votes, but you add them all together, and you start to see the makings of getting to that number of 270. So again, for Trump, he's got to win, Florida, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. If he wins those 3, then, as we say, it's going to be a long night, and it will really be tight up until the polls in the western states close to see who's really going to win this thing.
Before I let you go, very quickly, because you also have a thing with the media, tell us the power of the media for Trump in this whole election. For so many, they think that it's more or less like show business. Television has actually pushed him this far.
Well, during the primary, Donald Trump masterfully played the media. I think he understood very well that there were so many Republican candidates trying to get the nomination, and he just, because he's so larger than life, and he understands television very well, he understands how to captivate attention, he managed to just dominate that whole scene, and no one was able to compete with him. They were too busy, arguing amongst themselves. There were, at one point, 17 candidates. And Trump was just so much bigger than all the rest of them put together. He managed to get the nomination just basically based purely on his media skill. And then when we got to the general election, he continued in the same vein. He managed to captivate the attention of a lot of people who were very frustrated with the establishment. And so you listen to his talking points, he's very much just a lightning rod for anti-establishment sentiment. And that's what he's used in the media to portray his message, probably more skillfully than any Republican has done in a very long time, perhaps since Ronald Reagan.
All right, okay, George Arjun, international political consultant, strategist, and commentator helping candidates win elections not only in the United States, but all the parts of the world. Good to have you speak with us on
yes,
the
including
program.
In Nigeria.
We'll love to see you here. All right, then. Very quickly, we have Adishra George, who's been covering this in New York, and she's been able to tell us the way this election is going in the city of New York. Let's hear her now.
Election day is not a public holiday here in the United States, and that explains why it is business as usual at the Times Square here in New York City. However, voting started at 6 a.m. in the morning and is scheduled to end at 9 p.m. Security is tight. NYPD officials are manning strategic positions across the state. However, voting has been largely peaceful. How voting is going to turn out in the city has been a hot debate. This is because the two leading U.S. presidential candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, have both laid claims to winning in this city, and they have a few reasons to believe so. As for Hillary Clinton, she was a New York senator for 2 terms between 2001 and 2009, leaving behind a track record that earned her party's primaries in the city. Meanwhile, New York is home to Donald Trump's booming real estate business and has made him very influential amongst the business community. Traditionally, New Yorkers favor Democratic candidates for president. In fact, they have shown more favoritism in the last few years between 2000 and 2012, voting massively for Democratic candidates in this city. The only times that Republican candidates have won in this city was in 1980 and 1984, when Republican Ronald Reagan defeated Democratic incumbent President Jimmy Carter. In spite of all of these historical facts and figures, how the U.S. 2016 elections is going to pan out is still largely unpredictable. The only way to find out how New Yorkers voted in these elections is to wait for the votes to be counted. From New York City, Adeshewa Josh, Channels Television News.
Quite an interesting moment there, quite an incisive one there from Adeshewa. Many thanks, and we do hope that pretty much later we'll be looking at what has gone down and what is going on in District of Columbia, in D.C. there, and in Wisconsin. But we also were speaking with some Nigerians who are also citizens of the United States of America who have also voted. But right now joining me via Skype is Chika Mordi, and he will be telling us what he's done so far on this. Good to have you join us. How has it been so far?
It's been pretty interesting. The District of Columbia is very much democratic. It has the most partisan vote in the country. So there are not many challenges here. The real thing to check is the contribution to the popular vote. But so far, it has been all organized, and everything is good.
Looks like we're having a bit of problem with that connection there, but if you can hear me, let me go to what I thought we should be talking about now, which you're also an expert on. It has to do with the Electoral College, which many Nigerians would love to have an understanding of. Take us through the Electoral College system.
Okay, if you can hear me, that's fine.
Yeah, so, I can.
Basically, excellent. So the United States, the democratic system in the U.S. is very similar to what you have in Nigeria, in that you have a bicameral legislature like Congress, the way you have the House, the Senate, and you have the executive president. But there are differences in how they select a president. So whereas there's a direct vote, and whoever wins the vote and meets some of the requirements in terms of number of states becomes the president. In the United States, it's indirect. They vote on a state-by-state basis, winner takes all. People who will be, they're called delegates, Electoral College delegates. The electors will go to now decide who the president will be. Typically, the electors go and vote what the state has asked them to vote. And states have electors based on the population. It's proportional to your population. Right, so there are 538 electors, and each state has a portion of this. Now, all 50 states, with the exceptions of the exception of Maine and the exception of Nebraska, do this in a winner-takes-all basis. So whoever gets up to 269 votes, that's 270 votes, becomes the president. If it's tied, in which case it's 269, then it has to go to Congress, and the Speaker of the House will preside over a session where the states will vote on a state-by-state basis, one state per vote, delegations, who will become the next president. Now, that's unlikely, but if it does happen this time around, then almost certainly Donald Trump would emerge if they're tied at 269, because Congress is almost certainly going to be controlled by Republicans. And more than 26 state delegations have a majority of Republicans.
All right, Chika, I won't let you off now. You just stick around. I'll get back to you. I know it's still pretty early there. Specifically, I think it should be 1:27 p.m. in D.C. We'll get back to you shortly after now.
Sounds